Hi there everybody, it's Verity here from Inkybutterfly.com. Thank you so much for joining me again today for our Stamp Around UK video hop. So every month we hop around. We're all UK Stampin' Up demonstrators. Everyone's going to be using the same brief, and all the links will be in the description. So if you just click in the description, click more and more, there'll be a whole list of YouTube channels in there that you can hop through and have a look at, see what everyone else has made for our theme for this month, which is black and white with a pop of colour. So as you can see, I've gone with this sort of checkerboard sort of style card. I was inspired to make this when I was doing another challenge using circles, so I thought I'd use this. I had loads of different ideas to use with this theme, but I thought this one would be real fun to do. So as you can see, I've cut lots of squares. The squares are from the Stylish Shapes, really great beginner set with your basic shapes in there. I've used the smallest one for the background and then the next one up for the sentiment, and I've taken the sentiment from this stamp set. So at the point of filming, this is a set that's currently on last chance, so it's sort of a get it while you can scenario. So hopefully it's still in stock, but obviously you can use whatever sentiment you have in your stash as a substitute if not. It is one that I've reached to time and time again, really useful one to add in, and I think if I remember rightly it's actually been reduced as well, so great one to add in if you haven't got it already. Okay, so you'll be relieved to know I've done a lot of the die cutting ahead of time, so that you're not watching me do all of this, but we're going to sort of mix it up a little bit in terms of how I've laid out the background. So it might, I don't know whether you'll catch it on the camera, but I've actually layered this onto a piece of the black two-tone cardstock and put the die cut white squares with the stitching on top of that. So the black is actually kind of a negative space, which means you've got a little bit of texture there as well. Okay, and obviously filled it in with some this is the A4 cardstock. Got some scraps out and just got out some colours. Didn't particularly think about what was going to go together at all. I just got some scraps out that would fit, and we did it that way. So for the card I'm going to do today, we're going to do it the other way around. I'm going to use a white base and stick on the black squares, so you'll have the stitch detail on those. It'll be harder to detect on the camera, but it's going to look different. And then for this one, I started building from the centre with a square added to the centre like this. I'm going to do it a little differently, and I'm going to build from the centre, so the orientation is going to be a little different for the black and white squares. Okay, so let's show you what I've got here then. So either way you'll need 12 die cut squares for your colour that you're going to apply, whether that's be white ones or black ones. So I've got 12 black ones there. I've already cut my one for my sentiment. Okay, and then you'll need some additional ones in colours, and obviously I've only used 3. You could do more or less, so I'm going to do a slightly different thing on the sample today. Okay, but that's what you're starting with. And as you can see, I've marked the centre of this. Hope it's really pale. There we go. I've marked the centre. Okay, this is a 4 by 5 3/4 inch panel, so I've measured 2 inches in to get my north-south line, and the halfway mark on a 5 3/4 is 2 7/8. So we've got our centre point here. Okay, so as I said, we're going to build this slightly differently. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to lay out some of the squares. Let's start with 4. So you can apply the glue to more than one square at a time, and then but be able to place them before it dries, if you know what I mean. You don't want tons of glue though. The glue gives you the advantage of having a bit of wriggle time to make sure everything is square and lined up. So I might use another coloured square just to help with some of the alignment, but as I say, on the other one I started by placing the centre here, putting all those lines on each of the points of that square. This time I'm going to start by putting a point on the centre line and then making sure that the top point lines up with that line up above it. Okay, so we've almost got, instead of a square in the middle, we've got a sort of junction in the middle. Okay, so we've got those two. Now let's do this side. I'm now going to place sort of a spacer there and just make sure that I've got that lined up so I can put my next set of squares in next to it. I'm going to line it up with that one. It's touching the line on that horizon there, and just press that down. I'll do the same for the one underneath. So that glue is just starting to go clear, which means it's starting to get tacky. So 4 is probably the limit in terms of pre-gluing, if you like. But because we're doing it so thinly, it's going to dry quite quickly, which is obviously what we want. So I'm going to use that little that one there to help position the next two. We'll add some glue to another couple. Okay, so exactly the same. We're going to pop this one into place and use that one, line it up with that line and press that one into place. And we'll do the same with this one. Up against the blue one, don't let it slide underneath, and in line with that horizon line there. Okay, and as you can imagine, we can just, oh, it's so nice and snug, it's kind of got itself stuck. So we'll continue now. Rotate your cardstock and stuff and make it easy for yourself. So pop in another one up here. So again, got no line to help me because we'll run out because it's gone off the edge, but hopefully that's going to be nice and snug there. I'll just make sure that that one fits in. Yep, that's good. I think I'll just pop in this one at the bottom now. Ooh, had to think then where it needed to go. So the theory being, if you start off with everything lined up, the rest of it hopefully should sort itself out. Okay, lovely. Right, let's glue up another two. I think I can probably get away with doing all 4, that's fine. Quite therapeutic doing this. Just let yourself sort of just drift off and talk and think about what you're doing rather than anything else. I was going to blow a hair off that, and it's actually the line that I've put in. Obviously we'll have to erase that after. Okay, so this one goes there. So we've got a little bit of It's just about the right size to just have just a little bit peeking out, but it's not going to be too troublesome to get those cut down. Just don't want that to go underneath the other ones. There we go, that's it. Line that one up. There we go. And the last one's going to go at the bottom here, so I'm going to just sort of move it around so that you're not trying to sort of, you're not covering where you're trying to see where you're lining up with your hand, you know. There we go. So that's all our black squares in place. Okay, so ideally we're going to let that just dry just for a few minutes, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop a couple of my acrylic blocks on top. Okay, and then we'll leave that to one side just for a couple of minutes to make sure that that's completely dry. Okay, and then we'll come back and finish everything else off. Okay, so the glue's completely dry on that now, and I've already gone round and snipped off all those overhanging little pieces. Okay, but we want to add our bits and pieces now. So I've got this white square. So on the original, so you can already see it looks different. Okay, so on the original I placed it down in this corner and made it so that those edges still sort of were prominent as part of the design. So if I did it the same down here, won't get that same effect. So I'm actually going to make this one this orientation, so you still see those nice angles onto the card. Okay. So I just want to plan where I'm going to put my coloured bits. So on this one I used, this is Summer Splash, Melon Mambo and Blueberry Bushel. I've actually got Flirty Flamingo, Lemon Lime Twist, and I still have Summer Splash. So just having a sort of play around with the colours and just see where I want those to go. So, you know, maybe it's something like that. But also I've cut some Melon Mambo, and I've just got some little, I've cut them in half, so we could add some in at the sides as well. And I've also got some in Daffodil Delight, so we could add some at the top and at the bottom too, just to sort of add a little bit more fun and randomness to it all, really. So not particularly in a pattern or anything like that. Okay, so let's get those stuck down. So now that we know that everything's going to go into those little spaces, we can just apply the glue and just slot those in like a jigsaw piece. So obviously I don't want to cover them all because I still want to have that black and white element. But we've got this fun pop of colour as well. I'll just slide that in from the butts up. I might need to just pop a little bit of pressure on these little ones as well, that glue grabs. Okay, and I'll do the same with these daffodil ones. So just a bit of pressure just to allow them to grab. And so don't go mad with the glue, and it'll, although I did go a bit mad with that bit, don't go mad with your glue. Just a bit of pressure, and we'll obviously need those to dry, so we'll just pop that to one side just for a moment to let those dry for a moment, and then we'll just use our Memento Tuxedo Black and our sentiment here. So just using this For You, nice and generic. Get that really well inked up. Okay, and then the font on this is quite forgiving, so even if it's not perfectly straight, because it's sort of swirly, it won't matter too much. And then we'll just hold that down, make sure that ink transfers nicely so we get a nice solid image. Cool. With Memento, some people say that they don't get a great deep colour. I do find that keeping it really well inked, so if you purchase one of these, I would recommend getting a re-inker and making sure that that pad stays well inked, basically. Okay, and then we will need we'll need to put this onto some dimensionals, and we know it's going to cover that square there. Okay, I'm actually going to pop my dimensionals into that square, and we'll add it over the top. So before we add that though, we need to trim away all of these. Okay, so I'm just going to flip it over, and I'm going to use my scissors. If you're lucky enough to have some of the paper snips, they're so sharp and they get really nice and close to that edge. Unfortunately, we don't have these in at the moment, and we've got to, they're unfortunately no longer available. Okay, just concentrating on that, and then got that. Isn't it cute? It's so cute. I love it. I actually pitched this idea to my daughter, and my daughter thought it was really cool. So there we go. Now then, just thinking, before I stick that on, I'm going to put it onto a card base. Now, I've actually got a black and a white one. So I put this onto a white one, and I think it looks just fine. And I think actually you could probably get away with either or. I'm not sure it matters that much, but I'm wondering if the black will just frame it a little bit and just make it, give it that, yeah. Let's go black. I think that makes it pop even more, personally. Your card, your choice, of course. So you could have even, you know, thinking about the brief about the pop of colour and stuff, right? So you could have just left the checkerboard black and white and just popped a little bit of layering around the sentiment square. Could have used the card base as your pop of colour. Could have stamped a sentiment in some coloured ink. There's all sorts of interpretations of the brief. So, and lots of ways you could manipulate this. And if you you'll be able to see the one I made with circles as well. You could easily replicate that card with the same sort of theory as well. So just a blob of glue just will help with just making sure I've got that exactly where I want it, because those points are going to line up, and if you're not gonna, the thing with geometric shapes is that they will betray you if you're if you're just slightly off with things, unfortunately. So, and again, I'm just going to gently pop a block on there. Now that's going to slide a bit because of the wet glue, but you've got that opportunity to slide it and then leave that block in place, and then that'll just help you just make sure that that stays put. And then I just used some pearls. Now on the other sample, I've actually used the grey granite smoky slate ones, so those were last chance as well. Don't know whether they're still available, but I've used those. But any old pearls, whatever. I've got these ones knocking around, which are the iridescent pearls, but I don't think these are in stock anymore. I think these are retired. But whatever you've got, use plain rhinestones, whatever you have, really, to just add a bit of fun. And I figured that because they're white, it kind of adds to the theme a little bit. Okay, I'm going to do sort of a scattering of those all the way up there. Okay. But you can embellish as you see fit, really, or keep it really, really nice and simple. So that is my card today. Okay, do check out everyone else's link in the description. Click the more. So there we go. Black with white or white with black. Mix up the colours that you want, mix up the orientations and things like that. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and it's given you an idea on how you can make black and white cards. So much fun. Thanks ever so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe, take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.